Hey everyone, welcome back. And this is one of the last sessions before we are going to adjourn and join for a networking session. It's going to be a fun session. This is the first time that I'm going to do a networking. But right now we have Aaron Thompson with a company called SuccessCOACHING. And Aaron is going to share a little bit about the difference between customer experience and customer success. Isn't it fun?
Thank you, Natalie. I'm excited to be here.
All righty, take it away.
Okay, here we go. Well, welcome everybody. It sounds like I'm the thing between you and networking, so I'll make this as quickly as possible so that you can get out there and connect with everybody. And as Natalie said, I am going to walk us through the difference between customer success and customer experience. We hear a lot about the two of them kind of playing together, but for me personally, I, for years, didn't really understand where one stopped and the other started and kind of how they can work best together. And so when approached to speak at this event, I thought, what a great opportunity to at least take my understanding of where it lies. And then at the end, we will do our best to have some time for Q&A. And I'd love to get everybody else's thoughts out there as well. I know we have a ton of customer success and CX experts in the audience today. So before I get into the content, just a little bit about Success Coaching. We do exactly that. We coach people in the discipline of customer success. We have the world's only accredited certification in customer success management. We've been doing this for over 6 years and have trained tens of thousands of people around the world. We do it in live virtual events, kind of like what I'm doing here today. Pull out the whiteboard and we get after it. And then we have a self-paced subscription option online as well. You can find more at successcoaching.co, not .com. We're still trying to wrestle that .com domain away. So right now it's just .co. We were founded there by Andrew and Todd, my two business partners, and we're based out of Silicon Valley. And all we do is help people be a unicorn. And that's what our logo is all about. It is a unicorn, if you couldn't tell. We believe we're all unicorns if we can get the right tools. And that's what we do, is we provide people the right tools to be that perfect CSM or CX expert. What I'm going to go through are 3 main topics today. I'm going to outline how the CS and CX industries overlap and interchange, the impact that CS has on CX and vice versa. And then finally, how innovative companies are aligning these two teams, all in the interest of a better customer experience. And then ergo retention, expansion, and all the things that are good for us all start with what's good for the customer. So I'm going to define customer success. This is kind of objective 1A here. And then I'll come and I'll define customer experience, and then we'll talk about how they work well together. So when I think of customer success, and when people ask me, what is customer success? I oftentimes revert to the concept of 3 Ds. And this is really, as a customer success practitioner, what we need to do is, first off, define what success is to the customer. And when I say customer, I mean human. You're going to have an executive stakeholder, you're going to have your champion, you're going to have your users, and they're all going to have a different definition of what success is for them in using your products and services. I'm going to go into more detail on that one in a second, so I'll keep moving. The second D is to deliver that definition. So once we've defined what it is, we need to then deliver upon that. And if we can do that, we have a chance to keep our customers, hopefully, in perpetuity, especially in a subscription economy that we live in, where we get a little bit of money over time. We want to keep these customers forever if we can, paying those subscriptions. And we'll talk about some companies that do that really well, and maybe some that don't, I'll say. So that's the second thing. After we define what success is, we're going to deliver that definition. And then finally, the third D of customer success is demonstrating that you've done so. It's not good enough just to define what they want to accomplish and then deliver that. They have to know without a shadow of a doubt the value, and be realizing the value that we have been providing them through that contract. Anybody who has Spotify, for example, gets an email at the end of the year that shows you your unique listening habits and behaviors, what artists you listen to at what time of day, etc. And that is just simply a demonstration of value, so that you keep paying that $9 a month next year, because you have to realize all of the music, the thousands of minutes of music that you listened to in the last year, and it shows you some unique insights. So you can do these things at scale. It doesn't have to be a high touch enterprise kind of relationship. We see this play out all over the place in direct to consumer models, such as that email at the end of the year from Spotify. So now let's talk about how to define it. I said I would go into a little more detail on that. And so what does that look like? And any customer success practitioners out there, you've certainly seen this definition before. Those in CX you may or may not have. But at the end of the day, this is a commonly seen definition of success. And again, it's about the human. And so I'm going to have a different definition for the executive stakeholder and the champion and then the users. They're going to have very different things that they're looking to accomplish and different ways that they want to accomplish them. So when we talk about the human's definition of success, the customer's definition of success, that's the CS there, is very simply quantified with what they want to accomplish. That's the CO. What are they looking to achieve out of your products and services? And then how do they want to accomplish it? And so if we can deliver the same or a better desired outcome, that's what the CO stands for, customer's desired outcome. If we can deliver the same or better than our competition, oh, and by the way, outcomes come down to two things. They're always one of these two things. It's either a pain to relieve or a gain to achieve. I've either got something I got to do and it's a pain and I want you to help me fix it, or I want to be bigger, faster, stronger, and I want you to make me more efficient. That would be a gain to achieve or a pain to relieve. They all come down to one or the other, and sometimes maybe both of those. But if we can deliver that desired outcome and do it in a better customer experience than our competition, so this is when I want it, where I want it, how I want it, etc., how I want to engage with your organization, how I want to engage with your product or service, when I use it. Are there cyclical things in my life? We all have cycles. I'm busier sometimes than I am other times. I'm going to have a different level of bandwidth and a different desired experience in how I interact with you and your company, your brand, at different times throughout the year based on my cyclical life. And so we want to fit into that as best we can from the customer experience perspective. So when, where, and how I want to accomplish that desired outcome is what makes up a part of customer experience. But when we do that better than our competition, we then deliver a higher volume of success than our competition. And that's the goal, is to define what this looks like in terms of desired outcomes and experiences, then deliver that and then demonstrate it so that they have no shadow of a doubt the value that they're getting from your products and services. So as you can see, customer experience, CX, is critical in our ability to deliver effective customer success. In fact, it's critical for value realization. If you're adding friction to the CX side of my formula, for example, quarterly business reviews, I may want to meet with you quarterly. I may not. Some quarters, I might want to meet with you more than quarterly to have you help me realize the value. That's what the QBRs are all about, is that last D, the demonstration to our executive stakeholder, typically speaking. But if I'm adding friction to the CX side while just trying to demonstrate the COs I've been delivering, I'm actually degrading the overall volume of customer success that I'm delivering. And when you don't do this effectively, it will decimate your company or even an entire industry. The same exact desired outcome can be delivered, but if it's a better experience and the industry hasn't had to iterate, for example, or innovate, for example, like taxi cabs never had to before Uber showed up, same exact desired outcome, give me a ride from point A to point B, but a vastly improved customer experience. I can order on the app. I don't have to make a phone call in. I can pay on the app. I can see where the car is. I can contact the driver. I get in and it's a nice, clean, personal automobile, not industrial taxi cab that gets hosed out every night. They offer me a bottle of water and mints. All of that just went into the CX side of getting a ride from point A to point B. there was no difference on the CO of the formula. And yet, as we saw all around the world, Uber just comes in and cleans up over taxis. Then Lyft comes along, and they had one piece of functionality that was different in the product. When they went to market, you could tip on the app. You couldn't do that back then in Uber. And myself and many other people found that out, moved to Lyft, and away you go. It shows you how quickly you can lose or keep a customer just simply by having an improved desired experience, or CX. The other example that we all know oh too well, Netflix eating up all of Blockbusters. In fact, the last Blockbuster in the world is about a 3-hour drive south of me here. I'm in Portland, Oregon, on the west coast of the US. Netflix didn't start with streaming and all the content and Squid Game and all these things. They just simply mailed the DVDs to you. That was all they innovated on. The exact same product, physical piece of plastic, that DVD, for anybody old enough like myself to remember those. But because I could set up a queue online, they'd mail it to my house. I never went to Blockbuster and found it out of stock. And so they just decimated that industry that was primed for disruption well before they had the technology to do the streaming services and all the other stuff that we know so well today. So in both of those experiences, or I should say in both of those examples, that's the exact same desired outcome. Get a ride from point A to point B, let me watch a movie at home. But because they had such a better way of delivering that outcome, the customer experience was so vastly improved, they delivered a hugely, I should say, much higher volume of success for their customers. And then out of that, of course, that creates winners and what I'll say, not winners, for example. And so when we look at the 3 Ds of customer success, once again, define, deliver, and demonstrate what your customer is looking to accomplish, that in its core includes customer experience. It shows you how closely these two industries work together, whether we even realize it or not within our organizations. And so it's not just about what they want to accomplish. Customer success is also about how they want to accomplish it. And if we do not nail that experience side of the formula, it will lead to failure. Once there's competition, we can get away with being the only way people can accomplish their outcome. We don't have to worry about CX when we're the only way to do it, like Blockbuster, for example. But once there's another way to do it and they do it better, that will lead to failure. So now let's talk about what is customer experience. This is a typical customer life cycle. You've got marketing at the top, sales in the middle, and then all of the operations and delivery down there at the bottom. And so how we market, how we drive our demand generation and the awareness of our brand is customer experience. How we sell and how we help the prospect evaluate us against our competition and how we help them navigate that and kind of shepherd that decision-making process to ultimately become a customer is customer experience. And then, of course, everything we do at the bottom of the funnel. Activate is onboarding. So frictionless onboarding experience, tracking time to value. Optimized is when they're getting that full value realization. That's the demonstration D of the 3 Ds. And once we've done that and we've demonstrated to them the value that they're getting, how we do that demonstration is customer experience. Forcing your customer into a QBR that they don't want to go into just so you can show them how great you are is going to add friction to the CX side of the formula and thus degrade the overall volume of CS. And then, of course, how the renewal process works. This is critical in terms of customer experience. What's the process like? Are there new people being introduced to me about 90 days out for my renewal to start talking to me about what this process is like? Or is it the same relationships that I've built with my AE or AM or CSM? And how we navigate that whole discussion of renewal is customer experience. How we approach expansion. That's why it gets bigger at the bottom of that funnel there. That is customer experience. Is it outcome aligned? In other words, pains and gains that you know about me? Or is it roadmap driven and new features and functions that maybe I have or have not said that I am even interested in? How we approach that entire conversation. Do you have a new thing to sell me or a quota or number to hit? Or do I feel like this is actually focused on my actual pains and gains that I'm looking to accomplish? That whole mindset is customer experience. And then we get into advocacy. We want to make advocates out of our customers so they help market for us and then drive us that CSQL you see there at the top of the funnel. But how do we help them in that regard? How do we help our customers become thought leaders, social media influencers, even just industry leaders, either in trade shows or meetups or communities? What are we doing with intention to help them advocate for us and be effective advocates? That is customer experience. And then CSQLs. This is the cheapest net new lead you can ever generate, a customer success qualified lead. They close at a higher conversion rate. They have faster deal times. Everybody wins when we can generate business this way. But what are we doing in terms of CX to help generate those? And again, it's all about the how when we look at the CX side of the house. And then ICP is just simply ideal customer profile. As we live at the bottom of the funnel down there, we start to realize who the good fit customers are and who maybe the stretch fit or even bad fit customers are. What are we doing to help our marketing teams at the top of that funnel narrow the target of who they go after with the demand gen and awareness so that it is more customer experience focused for our true ideal customer profile? You put all of that together and that how behind it all. It's all about the how on the CX side of the formula. That's what makes up customer experience. And so what this looks like is in our marketing activities, are we marketing to them how they want it? How do we build brand loyalty and love? How do we create emotional connections with customers and prospects along the lines of Nike and Just Do It, or Apple and Think Different? All of these things that create fanboys and fangirls, if you will, this emotional connection that we can build with our prospects and customers from that marketing perspective. That's CX. In sales, how do we take them through that process? Is it a freemium to paid model? High touch enterprise deals? Are we whining and dining? Or is it like a free trial that they can use? Whatever it is, we want it to be as close to how they want to be sold to. It's not about our deal times and our quotas. It's about their business challenges and needs and fitting in with that as they're doing that evaluation process. In the delivery, of course, everything at the bottom of the funnel, right? All of everything I talked about, from onboarding to expansion and renewal, all of that. Are we doing it with their interest in mind or not? In the expansion, speaking up, in advocacy, and I know I'm moving fast because I want to save some Q&A time. How can we help them be successful beyond our business value proposition? Do we talk to them about how they are held accountable at their own organizations and help them get those promotions? That's what creates advocates. People who see you helping them beyond just your value prop and return on investment. In the product is huge. This is all about like user experience. Is it easier, faster, cheaper for me to accomplish my desired outcome with you than with your competition? And if so, that creates an amazing customer experience. Now, support is one that we don't think about very often, but I've recently had an experience with Disney, I'll tell you about in a second. But the whole point here is, how do they want to have support? What channels are available? Do they need to talk to somebody? Do they want chat? Do they want email, etc.? And the better we can fit that in terms of the how they want it, the higher CX on that formula. And so we talk all the time about Disney and their amazing customer experience. And that's in their parks. They have such an attention to detail that they actually have the Disney Customer Experience Summit, a conference that they run. They have a university teaching people about CX. And it's all about in the product. Their product is their parks, if you think of it that way. And so they're awesome at that. but they're not awesome at support. I recently needed to reach out to them because my tickets, I bought a couple tickets pre-COVID. They weren't showing up in my account. Long story short, it was a 6-week process with a 3-hour phone call to finally get this resolved. And what it did was it affected my perspective of Disney, and it is related to my experience with Disney. They still create amazing rides and experiences in the park and attention to detail and all of that. But when it falls short on the support front, when they don't fix it the right way, it automatically changes my perspective of that entire brand, because CX, customer experience, transcends your user experience and your user interface and how they use your product. It's how they interact with your company and your logo from top to bottom, from soup to nuts. All right, so now we're on to objective number 2. What is the impact CS has on CX and vice versa? Well, in short, they are 100% intertwined. You cannot be successful in customer success without effective, amazing CX, and you cannot be successful the other way around as well. Remember the definition, it includes CX right there in it. So you can't do customer success without doing customer experience. And if you can generate a better experience than your competition, again, you generate a higher volume of customer success. So in short, they need to be a tag team. These two need to work together to define, deliver, and demonstrate what the customer wants in terms of desired outcomes and desired experiences. They are two sides of the same coin, and one will never be successful without the other. And then finally, objective number 3, alignment. How are innovative companies aligning these two teams? How we see this play out at companies that do this well. First and foremost, it starts with the culture. You must create a customer-centric culture that brings CS and CX together, and that all starts with employee experience. Until you have your internal customers dialed in terms of CX, you will never be successful with your external customers. And then you have your voice of the customer, your feedback mechanism, NPS, CSAT, CES. And we have to be able to act on the feedback we get through those channels. And when we do, we start to generate a higher volume of CX. Churn and renewal, we got to learn from it. When a customer stays, we need to know why. And obviously, when a customer leaves, we need to know why. Happy customers leave all the time because they're not getting their desired outcome. Angry customers stay all the time because you are the only way for them to achieve their desired outcome. And so just because they stay doesn't mean there's not things to learn in terms of CX, so that you don't become the Blockbuster, but rather you become the Netflix. And then number 4, tickets. Support tickets as they come in. Look at the trends and the data intelligence to create product improvements and thus a better experience, and do this together, not apart. CS and CX need to be working together through all of those, but keep in mind that they actually have 2 different focus areas. The customer success department and customer experience department are very intertwined, 100% intertwined, but the customer experience team is focused on the journey from top to bottom, marketing, sales, all of the delivery, the journey, every step along the way. The customer success team is focused on the destination and value realization. And so they have slightly different focuses, but they work completely hand in hand. So to summarize, you can't do customer success without customer experience, and they are 100% intertwined. They must be a tag team, 2 sides of the same coin, but they do in fact have slightly different focus areas in terms of the journey for CX and the destination for CS. So there's what I banged through in just over 30 minutes, I think. If you would like to learn more or reach out to us, we are at successcoaching.co. Once again, not .com. And you'll find me on LinkedIn at just Aaron Thompson. I think I usually am fairly easy to find out there. I'd love to answer any questions if we have some. I think I left enough time for maybe 1 or 2, Natalie. I'll leave it up to you.
Aaron, this was amazing. Love the takeaway about the journey versus the destination. I put it in the chat because I think it was so interesting. We do have a question. Oh, where did it go? Okay, Danielle is asking, Aaron, what are the key roles to start a CX team in your opinion?
Well, it depends on the maturity of your organization and sort of where you're at. If you're a startup, it's going to be very different than if you're a large enterprise Fortune 500 company. And so it's hard for me to really answer that with a direct question. But at its core, when we build a customer success team or a customer experience team, we want to be combining those two sides of the coin and keep that journey versus destination in mind. And at a startup, like when I was a head of CS for the first time, I had a small team. It was an early stage company. I had to do both. I had to pay attention to everything from how are we marketing and branding, and is it actually in line with our true value propositions, et cetera? What's the sales process look like? And then all of the stuff at the bottom of that funnel in terms of delivery, I had to focus on all of it because we were early. If it had been a Fortune 500 company, we would have more nuanced job roles where I could start to roll out the different responsibilities. So it's really going to depend on where you're at in terms of that maturation process. But happy to talk more later about it if anybody would like to reach out to me and we could get into details on it.
Awesome. It looks like we're right at our time. We have almost 100 people in the room here. So, folks, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Aaron and check out the website as well. Aaron, thank you so much for your expertise. This has been an amazing session. You've been so active and so emotional. And I mean, you've definitely brought so much value into the room. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
Everyone, and it's going to be an exciting networking session right now. Join me there. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we'll see. Alrighty, let's try it out.